Hi, Mathis. How are you?
Hey, Julian, I'm wunderbar. Thank you. How are you?
It's good. I'm well, thanks. Thanks for joining me. So, I do monthly podcasts, and this will be our first. This will be my first video podcast on different areas of stroke recovery to help stroke survivors get insight into different levels and areas of stroke recovery to help them on their stroke recovery journey. And one of the main things I work with is to help stroke survivors maintain a good level of mental health to help them continue on through their recovery journey. And
Mm.
I'll give you a bit of an introduction here. As a child, I remember many years ago, you you were a teacher. I was a child and I saw this man, a teacher, Mathis, actually running up a long hill at the Steiner school he was teaching at and that I was attending. I thought to myself at that young age, who is this man? How does he have so much energy? Why is he running? Perhaps he forgot to get the paper he was running up the hill to get when he arrived. um, but since this day, I realized that you, Mathis, you have a very interesting and high level zest of life, if you will. It's quite unique, and that you pursue your own unique courses that you alone are interested in. And one day, unexpectedly, we met. We met at this woman's counseling institute, who we both knew individually. I knew I recognized him, but it took me a while to realize who you were. And it was you that helped me as well as help many other people through the course with your humor. Like, it's a very emotional journey to learn how to be a counselor and to learn about yourself on such deep levels. And it was your very unique humor that helped us all through this emotional period of our life completing this course. But I was wondering, Mathis, if you could share with us why you decided to change your career, because you were once a teacher and then an arborist and then now a counselor. Why you decided to change your career path from being a teacher now to being a counselor?
Um, the last three and a half years of my teaching years, I worked as a learning specialist, working with children on brain integration, coordination work. I might send them off to specialists to address whatever issues they had in emotionally, to address it via helping the body to be more centered and more healed. And working with children, I always felt I would love to work with the parents as well, so that I can work with the whole family. And then did a counseling training and was completely taken by it, and decided I wanted to work as a counselor.
Well,
And then I left teaching, opened my own practice, and had a little garden business on the side just to build up more income. And it turned into a tree business. And next I was an arborist, and I'm calling myself Australia's only counseling arborist. So I've had a counseling practice and a tree business for nearly 25 years now. And
wow.
I love doing this. Mm.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's impressive. It's a very unique combination of different things that you do.
Mm.
Um, and I'm a counselor myself, yet I specialize in counseling for stroke survivors and their families. And I know for a fact, and I'm sure that you know as well, that your clients admitting they might need counseling and then actually going to see a counselor are two of the most difficult steps they need to progress through. To progress through these two steps will enable them to get their life back or to help create a better and more stable life for themselves. And I'd like to give the example of men needing counseling. Men are big and tough and big and tough creatures, and we don't like to admit that we need help. So it's very difficult to realize that, or to admit that you need help, and especially seeing a counselor. So I'll give a brief example of one of my clients. I was told that he needed help, yet know that men referred to me by their corrections officers, the police officers that are looking after their transition out of drug rehabilitation or jail. The correction officers recommend them to this organization I'm working for. And I contacted him quite a few times and he had no response. And then I contacted the corrections officer and she said she'll contact him. And then she said he's still interested in seeing him. And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, okay, well, he is interested in seeing you. So finally I got to talking to him and we were chatting for such a long time and he was just opening his heart and soul out to me. So those initial first steps were so difficult for him to admit that he might need help and support. But that's the only way through his journey to get to the other side of where he's come from. But I was wondering if you have any similar stories to that and what the benefits are for clients during this process, like once they come out the other side.
Mm. Yes, it's really interesting because if we anywhere in life where we want to be successful, we have a tendency to go and see somebody and ask for help. So if I want to be a significant tennis player, I will spend every cent that I earn and own that I can spare on tennis coaching.
Yeah.
If I want to be a really successful business person, I will spend thousands and the bigger businesses, hundreds of thousands of money to get help, to get better. And somehow even in today's society, we haven't realized that if I want a successful life, then I also need some coaching or counseling.
Yeah.
And for us still, it seems like a failure not to have a successful life.
Yeah.
Yet when you're in tennis, when you're not going so good, you just get more coaching and you do more exercise. And you wouldn't not do that. So it's like this pursuit of a life that is really yummy, that is interesting, that is juicy, that is challenging, but a big journey in itself. That's still only sort of slowly sort of coming home to people, that you really, if you want to get somewhere in life and have a really good life, you have to have counseling and coaching.
Yeah.
It's
really
not
it's as if we just like bypassing the difficult things and just to get the sweet stuff straight away. But but it does take practice. Yeah.
But I think in 20, 30, 40 years, everyone will have counseling. They might not call it counseling anymore. But if my business is losing money, I'm not going to talk to anyone, and I'm not going to admit that I'm losing money. Right? I run to somebody that knows more than I do and go, please help me fix this thing.
Yeah.
And then you turn it around.
Yeah.
Same with counseling and coaching lives.
Yeah, exactly. But in saying this, that the clients can find it difficult to initiate their first appointment or even to accept the suggestion from a loved one to seek support. I know that personally, I went through this same experience, to be honest. Like I remember when we were studying and the teacher approached me and said, do you need counseling? And I was like, no, I don't need counseling. Like, no way. But then I kind of transitioned into that and it was one of the best decisions I'd ever made. And like, I was resistant, but yeah, I'm so glad I went through that. And I was just wondering if you yourself has any sort of counseling or mentoring, or I remember you mentioning this quite wise man that you sometimes go to see like once a year. But so do you see anyone to help you with your mental health? Do you feel like telling us about that?
Yeah. Oh, look, passionate about telling anything about this whole area. I just love everything and anything to do with people, coaching and counseling. For me, coaching and counseling is not only to have a better life, or to get more out of life, to learn more from life, but for me, it's like, I call it soul maintenance. It's like there was a time in my life where I went to see a counselor every Monday night at 8 o'clock in my work boots and work clothes.
Oh,
And she was so good that I just wanted to move out. I just wanted to clean the attic and the basement. And so we would have a session, and she would say, "How was your day?" And I'd say, "Great." And then she'd say, how's Diane? She's beautiful. How the kids? So my life was good, but I knew that underneath the good, there was still a lot to tidy up and clean out and throw away and
yeah,
transform.
yeah,
And lo and behold, uh, within half an hour, many a session, she had me in tears over something. So our system is just there's just so much in it
yeah,
that really needs to be worked through and let go of.
yeah,
And the more we do that, the life doesn't always get easier. That nothing ever happens again, but the way we handle life is just light years different from not really constantly working on our stuff and growing.
yeah. And we just like to bury it, suppress it, but it really
I
does
know.
work wonders to bring it up, even though it is emotional at first. After that, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, how is it for you when people come to you, and then after a session or two or three, what difference do you see? What's your, I mean, you would experience that
Yeah,
all the time, you know?
yeah. Or
Mm.
there's this man in, originally the first man that reached out to me was from Spain, and I haven't charged him once. He he actually lives with his mother, and he's quite a bad stroke survivor. Like, he can't do a great deal, but we kind of I've just kept my heart open, and we just communicate back and forth with each other. We have for a few years now, and we talk less and less, but like there's another man in America that I talk to monthly, and like we're friends on Facebook, and he follows me on Instagram. And after each session we talk, I see all these pictures pop up, which are like segments of our conversation that have come up, and now like his
Mm.
life is just looking really beautiful.
Mm.
Um, but I can see that his life and other people's lives have definitely changed for the better. Like,
Mm.
it's difficult to admit that your life may not be the same as before you had a stroke. It's a lot
Mm.
of emotional change to take on board, but it's definitely worthwhile taking on that challenge. Yeah.
Mm. And I think it's really important, and maybe also not so widespread understanding, is that if you go and see some kind, because you hear again and again, also a counselor, psychologist, and they weren't really, that wasn't really worth
Yeah,
it.
I hear that all the time as well.
So so to not spend 5 or 10 sessions with somebody if it doesn't spark, but to find somebody where you have rapport pretty much straight away, where you feel, yep, this person can really make a difference.
Yeah,
And until then, just, yeah, have sessions with different people until you find your right person, or persons. Could be two, three, four.
yeah,
uh, Again, sports people, business people, they don't have one seminar or 1 hour once a week or once a year. They just, the more hungry they are for a good business, the more they do.
yeah, exactly.
And the more
Okay.
hungry we are for a good life, the more we might want to go out and do courses and read more and seek support.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And there was actually this boy that I met the other day. I Another job I have on the side is I'm a support worker, and I met this
Mhm.
autistic boy with his mother, and they were waiting in a patisserie, and he was so nervous and he didn't want to see me. And she was saying, "Do you want to cancel it?" And she was trying to talk him into staying. And then they had a chat with me. And then afterwards, she messaged me saying, "Thank you so much." Like, he left just so uplifted and feeling good and positive about himself. So it can really, seeing the transition, it's very much like what we talked about before about not really wanting counseling. And then once you take that first difficult step, it's really worth taking that leap of faith. Yeah. But did you have any more questions?
Yeah. What, I mean, it's such a cliche question, but what for you is the most rewarding thing when counseling? And then next question, more specifically, when working with stroke survivors, or yeah, that would be the question.
What's the most rewarding?
Yeah, what's the juiciest thing for you where you go, yes, that's why I do this?
To kind of see them, like, I guess their viewpoint of themselves is like this, and you help, and that's like negative, or whatever beliefs they have, and then you help change it so that they can see it from a different viewpoint. So it's almost like an aha moment. And that's just so beautiful to help them change their perspective on themselves. Yeah. That's really leaves me with a really lovely feeling.
That's why we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And with stroke survivors in particular, is there, or is it just similar, just with a different?
Yeah, well, I guess that was the answer for stroke survivors, but the company I'm working with, it's actually quite difficult to get clients actually willing to talk to you because they're all come out of really difficult situations like jail or drug rehabilitation. So literally 90% of them don't contact you. Yeah.
What makes the 10% different that contact you, do you think? I mean, you might not know. This is just,
that's a good question. I'm not sure. Like, it's just, I guess people that I don't know how to answer that actually. Like, I guess people that they must have a little bit more belief in themselves, and they might not be covered in as dark and heavy a cloud. Yeah, and it can be quite difficult for people, and we have this rule about if they don't contact us after 3 contacts, then we have to refer them on to someone else. So it's a very kind of repetitive sort of thing, but I'm just doing it for some more experience. Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you think is the most important thing that a stroke survivor can do while working with you? What, say, like a task, a tasking or a way of thinking, or what do you give them homework every now and then? Or homework is such a bad word. Tasks.
Yeah, well, it's like, I guess after our sessions, we just kind of conclude it, and I give them tasks to focus on. And then I've also got a few digital products that are available on my website. Like there's one they can get their hands on for free, which is called the 5 top tips of your stroke recovery journey. And then there's another more advanced one called the 10 top tips, like to improve your mindset. And then there's another more advanced one, which is called your stroke recovery toolkit. So all of these like work together. Yeah. And then there's also the book that I've written as well. But yeah, so sorry, what were you gonna?
What's what's the for you the number one action or thought processes that a stroke survivor can enter into that would predict the best success in working with anything really in that area? What's the what?
I guess
Mm,
like inner belief and trust and faith.
mm,
We have this very powerful ego or negative mind that really controls us, and we believe it because it's so almighty and powerful. But just like I say time and time again, that it's actually simpler than you think. Like you just have
mm,
to have faith and trust and belief in yourself. And it's like taking that first step. It's like taking the first step into trust and faith and belief. And then you just do a few different things like meditation, morning
mm,
routines, afternoon routines, and like walking, exercise, diet. Like it's just
mm,
a combination of different things.
mm,
As well as it's helpful having someone to hold you accountable and
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, that being held accountable. Yeah, quite a few people say, "Oh, no, I'm all right."
Yeah.
But there's definitely, if you have rapport with somebody, if you get on with your coach and counselor, that definitely to have this element of being held accountable is fantastic, I think, too. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for joining me here today, Mathis.
Oh, it was a
It's
pleasure.
been a pleasure
Mm.
chatting, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon. But yeah, thanks for your
Sounds
input.
awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Have a good night. Take care.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye-bye.